Oh, bless you. Oh, look, I transferred the mattress. Hey. You know what? Blessing. You're 1 month old today. You and your brother. You're twins, that's how it works. Newborns at home means I get to spend a lot of time with Big Brother, and that's pretty fun. He's at a really fun age. Having a 2-year-old and 2 newborns on top of that, it's probably what you think it is. It's chaotic. And I think that's just how life is going to be for the foreseeable future. Chaotic, but sweet too. It's a really sweet chaos. You know, it's very, very full right now. In every way, but, you know, especially in the best way. Nothing really comes easy, except for how easy it is to take this all for granted. Hello from my life right now. So when I started making videos, I largely did so because I wanted a way to remember the adventures I get to go on, and I wanted a way to share them with others. Not in a way that's like, hey, look at me and all this stuff I get to do, but like the wonder of it. So I started hitting record more often because honestly, this is something I wish I'd been doing a lot longer. When I was a good chunk younger and right out of school, I think of all the cool experiences I had, being able to live abroad, being able to travel and see the world, and I saw so many things that just changed the way I see the world and see people and see life, and I kind of wish I could share those things and rewatch them and relive them. I mean, I do, but you know, through stuff I wrote and photographs. But I started making videos for all the adventures I knew I still had ahead of me. Now, ironically, I don't go too many places anymore, at least not compared to how I used to. That's probably not a permanent thing, you know, this is a moment. My life is pretty anchored at home, plus there's a whole pandemic going around, but you know what? This right here, this is also an adventure. Paternity leave with 1 kid versus 3 it's pretty different. Of course, with Reese, it just felt leaps and bounds easier. I mean, yeah, there were challenges, there were some sleepless nights, etc., but it was undeniably easier. There were these slower moments in between his meals and his naps, these times where I could just kind of like soak in how new everything was, and there's a lot less of that with these two. Sometimes just as soon as you get one settled down, the other starts to go off, and it becomes this whole juggling game. It's easy to just have hours go by trying to get both of them settled. Then on top of all that, Reese still needs help, so even those in-between moments there's still a demand. Weirdly though, the thing I do seem to have a surprising amount of time for is just streaming stuff and watching stuff. And I think it's because when I have my hands full, it just means I physically have my hands full. Like I have bottles or kids in them, and I can visually engage something. So I'm watching La Casa de Papel right now, Money Heist on Netflix. It's so good. I think most people already know that who are gonna watch it, but I started late and I'm loving it. The best thing I watched on paternity leave was Swan Song with Mahershala Ali. Man, so high school, one of the most like influential movies on me ever was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and also one of the most important books I've ever read was Kazuo Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go. And I feel like this movie has strong elements, both like in the plot and also in the feel and in the artistry of those two things. That's so good. What's a books? So many books. Gonna make some coffee. Really excited to try this blend from Mostra MVP. It's got a Mexican, Vietnamese, and Filipino beans in here, so let's do this. So even though things have been pretty hectic the past month, I think there's a lot of ways in which we've been lucky. One of the big ones is, so far I think we're 3 for 3 with all kids being pretty decent at getting into a groove with their sleep routine early on. That, or maybe I was just preparing for the worst. I think we've done everything in our power to help them develop good sleep skills early on, but at the same time, you know, it's kind of like that's only half the battle, and the other half is just sheer luck with the individual kid. But thankfully, we've lucked out in that department so far. So, I don't like giving advice, parenting advice in particular, because for starters, every kid in every situation is so different, right? But then, I'm also only 2 years into this thing, so what do I know? I'll take the advice. But I do like being helpful when I can, and so there are a couple things that I feel like sharing them actually would be helpful. First one, it's a really practical thing, but that 5-minute warning thing is like your best friend. At least it's been that way with us and Reese. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's like if your kid is playing and it's gonna be bath time soon, just giving them the heads up, telling them 5 more minutes until they're done. It's such a game changer, right? Because then they have the heads up, then they're not surprised when you have to change activities, because let's face it, no one likes the rug pulled out from under them, even if it's something as simple as playtime. That's kind of a specific practical thing, but the other big thing that I think is just always helpful to share, and that I always try and remind myself of, is it goes fast. Like, I know you hear parents say that all the time, and I used to think that that was just because it was such a cliche, but I think part of the reason why people say it all the time is because we need so many reminders of it, and it's kind of easy to think of the challenges of child raising in just like one lump sum, like, hey, life is, I can't do much, life is gonna be like this, I've got my hands full, but the reality is childhood is made up of so many different stages, especially at the stage we're at now. It's almost like, in some ways, you know, I get a whole new set of cards every month. And, you know, none of them last that long. The hard moments, they don't last too long. You know, I remember some stretches in particular. I know there was a time towards the end of Reese's first year. We're kind of at this one right now with 2 brand newborns where it just feels like, man, things are exceptionally difficult. But within a month, a lot of what was really hard about that season kind of resolved itself. And at the same time, the good parts also don't last that long. You know, there are definitely really adorable things Reese used to do that he's outgrown now. And so, yeah, understanding that it's the double-edged sword. The hard parts don't last, but the good parts go quickly too.
So one piece of good advice that I came across was from the Love Every blog, which is like a subscription box toy company.
It's Reese's toy subscription.
Yeah, I guess that's a way to explain it. And they do some other stuff too. The mentality some parents have, and it's easy to slip into, is that this kid is giving me a really hard time. So rather than thinking they're giving me a hard time, my kid is going through a hard time rather than giving me a hard time. And that's just where they're at. They don't have the ability to really think about what you, the parent, are experiencing.
Like, kids don't have that motivation to make your life miserable. They're just trying to, like, deal with what's going on in their world.
In other words, it's not about you, it's about your kids. Developmentally appropriate, yeah, at least in toddlerhood, to get really upset when those happen. I mean, I don't like to be patient as an adult. Like, I don't like to be hungry. I don't like to be tired.
I love the idea that you're giving your kids your calm. Kind of what I'm doing as the grown-up is setting the emotional energy and helping to, like, recreate the environment that the kid can absorb. So even things like kneeling down, getting more on eye level.
Kids will not do what you say. They'll do what you do. So it's like if you, the parent, are setting the standard of, like, here's how you handle stress, is with, like you were saying, like calm energy, calm voice, calm demeanor, then eventually, I mean, probably not in their toddler years, but hopefully in later years, they'll develop that attitude as well.
It's like muscle memory for what we do when we feel that way. I'd been hoping to get into more of a groove with having 3 kids. Like I said, it's a lot all at once. You know, things trend in the direction of easier. Tummies get bigger, sleep cycles go longer, and I know the more and more we have a rhythm, it gets much, much easier. But honestly, it's been taking longer than I expected. First I got sick, then Christmas came around, visitors, family, fun, all stuff I love, but also stuff that just seems to delay our sense of normalcy that I've been craving. But don't rush this. Those are good words, but they're also a challenging daily discipline. Especially because life is a bit of a curveball pitcher. And we were about to get one.
Strike three call at the inside corner.
Today is New Year's Day, and here's how 2022 has already started. Reese got a COVID exposure yesterday, the 31st in school. And so we have no daycare for 2 weeks, actually a little bit longer because of MLK Day. So that's going to be a tall order because we don't have school. And if Reese is positive, I think he probably is because he has a runnier nose, then I'm probably not going to want to have my mom over here to help out. That's 2 newborns plus a toddler, minus daycare, and minus grandparent support just in case he's contagious. Anything else? And now the twins are a month old and I've gotten sick twice since they've been born. I'm not that bad. I'm just very stuffy. And it's so annoying. Don't rush this. Really? I can't wait to breathe out of both nostrils again. I can't wait to get back to daycare, at least 3 days a week, so we can get somewhat of a break. But yeah, that's the trick, isn't it? You don't need to hear the phrase "don't rush" when everyone is being cute and things are going smoothly. Don't rush this is for those moments where you want to hit fast forward, where you find yourself anxious to get to whatever's next. Because even in the middle of a storm, there's a whole lot of life. I'm gonna tell my kids that this was Kenyan. To my surprise, we all tested negative. I think we wound up with some generic brand illness instead. I mean, right after we found out Reese had positive exposure, he had a runny nose, Deanna and I started to feel a bit off. It was mild, but different. And so, or it's possible that, there's a bunch of other rhinoviruses and things Reese could bring home. But COVID would have made so much sense. I don't know, but I'm not complaining. I hope that's the case, and I hope that means it frees up next week to be a little bit more normal, which would be great, because it would be my last week of paternity leave and being able to get into some sort of groove before work starts again. We made it, and I really did feel like I got some good moments with each of my kids. Is anyone else out here looking for the reset button on 2022? Now, I feel like I'm not the only one who started this year off on kind of the wrong foot. In spite of all that, I'm still feeling good about this year. Like, the good parts are still coming. I think the ability to bounce back and refocus after a rocky start is like a really valuable skill. Ted Lasso told me to be a goldfish. There's just too much possibility left to dismiss it all so soon. Just because things have been one way doesn't mean they'll have to continue to be that way. Whew, we are back in daycare, which means today we get to do something that is so much easier to do with 2 kids rather than 3 on board, and that's taking a nice little day hike, so. None of this lasts very long. The hard parts don't, the beautiful parts don't. And they come as a package deal. When the hard parts are right in front of you, impatience looks real tempting. But I don't know what I can say other than what I've been saying all along. Don't rush it. In spite of the countless struggles, this really likely is the sweetest season of my life.